entertainment to me is the feeling I get when I hear a very good beat in the studio. Sometimes entertainment is frying dodo, sometimes is watching TV, sometimes is reading a book, sometimes is dancing to some music. That's entertainment to me. Could be. It's not just one thing, it's anything and everything that takes me away.
It's all shades of green Tuesday on Your View today. I am Mariah Afolabi Brown. As always, I have the ladies of Your View all in a shade of green. What happened? Did we? This was a very, very unconscious
Tuesday.
Yes, good.
You would say money, I would say earth.
Okay. So, Nima, what would you say?
Okay.
Ramadan
is abundance.
I love that.
You would say
abundance too. How you doing, Elijah Nima?
I'm fine. Grateful. Yes. So yesterday I made my son do the fast properly to school. I gave him no food, no water, and I put a small 500 naira note in his bag just in case he wanted to break his fast. By the time I picked him up in the afternoon, I said, "Mommy, put on the AC." I'm hot. Something's hot. In fact, I think my head is hurting. And my stomach is hurting me. And then I was driving. I just thought I couldn't see through the mirror. And then I looked.
Slept off.
He was climbing closer to the AC. Wow. You know how fast he does. When I remember my first fast, my stomach was flat on the floor throughout 7 in the evening. I'll go in shower, come back and lie flat. So my children are exactly like me when it comes to food. But this is a boy. I'll give him his food, he takes his breakfast at 5:30, goes to school, brings back his lunch for me. But now that I've told him he's fasting,
he's hungry.
He's hungry all over, all shades of hungry. I met him playing. And then when he came home, he said, "Mommy, I need ice in my Jebu Gari." Ice. So that was how we broke it. It's interesting how they are both different. The friend would be like, "I want to break my fast," but she would not. But my son, he put ice in the Gari.
How you doing, Amaka?
I'm fine, thank you. That's so cute. I'm having mixed feelings, excited, and my mother is coming now, so there's excitement and there's the oh Lord, she's so finicky.
What's she bringing from us?
She's so finicky. She told me she's bringing something for I won't tell people. Yes, well, she's so finicky. So my own is, she has told me, I hope they inflicted. She said you fumigated the house. You've done this. I said, oh God, you've put my spa. You've done. I said, oh God, jeez. But mommy, now I love you so much. I'm excited.
Can't wait to see her.
I know.
I'm sure she's like double you. You are like
God.
Hello, Mariam. How are you?
I'm fine. So you people need to help me praise God. A huge miracle happened in my house this morning. Amen. My daughter woke up. She said she could not move. Her leg was hurting. She feels like all her bones are broken. Her joints. She was walking like this, as if she was not. So I was crying really badly. I tried to stretch her out. She says, "No, this is the end of her leg. Her leg is gone." Her auntie now came. Her auntie says, "It looks like you're going to need like 5 injections this morning." Then she says, "No, maybe I can stretch it a bit." I think I can stretch it a bit. The stretcher, okay, go and have a bath. She was so dragging. Then her auntie says, this looks like amputation is going to happen. No! I can wiggle my toes! Look, my toes are wiggling! Look, they're wiggling! I'm like, amazing! When I got the message and when I got to work, they said, a miracle has happened. She's walking! She's fine! So help me!
That's so interesting. Children are so dramatic. I have a serious problem by what house. Gas has been smelling in my kitchen for weeks. I've called my gas man several times to come and check. He said there's no problem. My daughter just told me over the weekend, Mommy, can't just call somebody else.
Yes.
And I didn't even think of calling because I've been using this guy for almost 10 years. But I mean, I'm not called somebody else yet, but it still smells. I feel like I'm putting my family in danger.
Your cylinder.
How do you have your
cylinder
pipes?
Outside. The pipes,
the pipes.
It goes through the walls.
Through the walls, you have to check it.
Have to check it.
It's just really bad. Like every week, the kitchen's constant. And the guy said has checked everywhere. There's no leakage anywhere. But you can smell it. You can smell it, but I can't see the leakage.
No.
So it's really. I mean, I'm really scared.
You know, sometimes I feel like my husband is just too old school. I'll be getting upset. I'm like, put it, but he'll be like, see, this is Nigeria. Come on, put something in the wall and nothing. So we had to do as. You know, on top of the wall,
so
but
so you can actually see.
Yeah, you can actually see. And if there's an issue, you can trace it. The only part is there's just a tiny part that goes through the wall, so that's the only part we can't see. He just says this is your country, and you know how it works. All these embedded,
they should just break that part of the wall to check.
You have to.
Yes.
Okay.
That's dangerous.
Safety.
Yeah, I'm just scared. Okay, let's go on a very short break now. When we come back, we'll look at the front pages of the paper. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Okay, we're going to start with the nation. Confrontation breaks out between Fubara and lawmakers. Obasa returns as Lagos House Speaker. Tribunal resolves judgment in Edo PDP Igodalo's petition against Okwebolo. Natasha's allegation nobody can force Akpabio out, says King Dakolo. 1.09 billion naira insurance cover for assets, personnel at federal airports. Why control of illegal mining is difficult by Alake. And NNPCL slashes petrol price to 860 naira in Lagos, 880 in Abuja. I saw that and I just laughed when I drove past and they said, they don't teach you.
All of them.
They've adjusted their pumps. Okay, which story are we starting with?
Okay, let me start with. Okay, go on, Mary.
Okay, let me start with this because the way they say it is that they started and Dangote copied. According to the Nation, it says NNPCL yesterday reduced the retail price of petrol across its retail outlets in the country. In Lagos, the petrol outlet sold at 860 from 945 naira per litre. The same commodity sold in Abuja at 880 naira from a previous 965 naira. The latest price, they say, comes 2 weeks after NNPCL reduced the pump price in Lagos to 945 naira per litre, and then 5 days after Dangote Refinery implemented a reduction. So they said they started it. So as of now, both the prices are similar. NNPCL and Dangote prices.
Their prices were reduced. Why we all line up at the MRS?
People don't get their own story first, so they're now telling you. There's and Dangote changed his own price.
My old customers at the NNPC to the MRS on Ogudu, Alapere side, and bought from there. The River State governors, they inherited the tradition of press briefing, public speaking from Wiki. So Fubara, yesterday the House sat and somebody moved a motion, one of the honorables moved a motion that the budget should be represented because the House will go on their recess by Friday. And so somebody said they should give the governor 48 hours to do that. I don't expect any changes. You know, the budget now you give 4 people and you just give them. But then governor now went out and he was talking, says my government, I am not afraid of anybody. River State people, you see, my government, every time we take a step, a spanner is thrown in our wheel, and you know, it's like we take 10 steps backward. What my government is facing, asking the youth to be resolute, telling them to take their destiny in their own hands. At some point, as I'm reading all this speech, I'm afraid that, you know, is governor asking them to be, you know, because this is a Supreme Court judgment and you're a democratically elected governor. There's a way to play it. See the way they are playing in Lagos. It's like they didn't have governor. You know, he did not put his mouth. What did not consign him. You know, so you can play the game. It's a democracy. Let the House of Assembly approve what they ought to approve while you run the executive as you ought to. But he's now decrying the back and forth, even though he had said in public places that he would, you know, uphold the Supreme Court judgment. He said that the state was trying to threaten him, saying that the House of Assembly was trying to threaten him, saying that the state will be plunged into financial crisis because of their 12-week recess. Me too, I'm wondering which 12 weeks now they go. You people just
never
came back.
work.
Never work, you know. But you know, everybody likes to do their own selfishness. You people have been on a break forever. You've been in court. You come back, take the business of lawmaking into a serious business. And until they go another break.
Okay, so yes, so political, social, and cultural sensitivities are major impediments to controlled mining activities in the country, says the Solid Minerals Development Minister Dele Alake. He also explained that the Federal Executive Council has okayed 2.5 billion for the purchase of satellite surveillance equipment to combat illegal and unregulated mining nationwide. They said that in Abuja yesterday during the FEC meeting that 350 illegal miners have been arrested in recent months, and 150 of them are currently facing prosecution, while 9, including 4 foreigners, have already been convicted. He also stated that irrespective of the fact that mining activities falls within the executive rights or list, that the Land Use Act also invests ownership of lands within the states, give the states the right, therefore that the states have a say in mining activities. Yes. He also said that after meeting with 32 of the governors, that they've now started something that they call the special purpose vehicle, where state-owned companies now can apply for mining licenses, and they are begging the state governors to collaborate with them to ensure that illegal mining activities are curtailed, that we can move forward and actually make money and enough revenue from mining activities within the country. Okay,
so King Dakolo of I think it's chairman of the Bayelsa State Traditional Rulers Council, King Bakolo, was saying yesterday that he has rejected the calls for the Senate President to resign following the allegations of sexual harassment made against him by Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. He said that he's backing Akpabio, saying that the South-South stand with Akpabio. He expressed implicit confidence in the presiding officer's integrity. I have confidence in Senator Godswill Akpabio. He's the son of the South-South who has lived a life that has projected a commendable legacy. Saying that the call for inquiry should be done in the Senate and shouldn't be something where he's asked to resign. Well, we don't know if that's patriarchy speaking or if it's just his own personal opinion. Moving on now to the Punch. How Akonde-led panel forced Miranda out and reinstated Obasa. Residents lament as Disco plunges Lagos Air Force Base into 12-day blackout. FG avoided confrontation with governors over mining sites, says Minister. NNPCL stations have reduced petrol price to 860 naira per litre. FEC approved 734 billion naira for Oyo Ogbomosho Road and others. Ramadan, Kebbi, Bauchi, Kano rebuff Khan, says schools remain closed. Rivers budget for Bar Assembly set for fresh showdown. Governor alert supporters. Okay.
Should I start with the
yes, now.
That's what we're waiting for. Yes, now.
So 49 days after.
Sadly, 49. You start with sadly.
Unfortunately.
49 days after Honorable Mojisola Miranda was made speaker after the removal of the new speaker now, the re-elected speaker of the House of Assembly in Lagos State, she was made to step down. And the headline carries that how the Akonde-led panel forced Miranda out and reinstated Obasa. So yesterday, well, even though the panel had already, carried out his duty, and he was directed by the president to put in place order, because immediately the removal was done, the now speaker, we will clash very well with terms today. So the now speaker, the re-elected speaker, was in the US at the time, and so he started a protest about it. He also went to court and called on the party leaders to come to put sanity in place. And so she was invited by the state chairman for the APC, Cornelius Ojelabi, as well as him and other chiefs of the house, and they had a meeting outside the assembly yesterday before they went in for plenary. And when they went in for plenary, Honorable Mojisola Miranda gave an outstanding speech saying that she has done this only for democracy, which is one of the things I would like that Rivers State copy. She said she's done this for the progress of Lagos State as well. And then she gave her speech, and then she stepped down and went back to her position of deputy speaker, while all the other positions were also taken in that
I think the sad part is that we all wanted that woman speaker. But the reality is what the current speaker has said, that listen, I'm not against impeachment or removal, but do it the right way. Let us uphold what democracy is supposed to stand for. Let's obey the rule of law, which is what he was clamoring for. That I'm not against you impeaching me, but do it the right way. So we guess that to see how.
I also like the fact that the moment the re-elected speaker took office, there's a new sound to his persona. He used to be so confrontational in speech and language, but yesterday, the moment he came in, he acknowledged his honorable members, sort of, agreeing to, their grievances. Because when you have 30, if you have 30 lawmakers voting you out, you have that's your feedback, whether you like it or not. So whatever politics happened, it has happened.
But remember, he also said that we're all friends, we're a family. Even Miranda, that she's my good person.
He acknowledged her sacrifice. He commended her, and he called her a loyalist, knowing that what had to be done was done. That's politics.
So it's okay. That's clean politics.
Clean politics.
Let's go on a short break. When we come back, we continue with our review. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your view will be right back.
Now you can catch up with your favorite programs on TVC. Log on to www.youtube.com/TVC Entertainment. Join the fun.
Oh, wow. My typical day is filled with meetings, consultations, and of course, traffic. And that's all part of the hustle and bustle of city life. But the real fun starts when I can just settle down and catch up with all my favorite programs on TVC. Believe me, it's pure entertainment.
TVC Communications, Nigeria's leading independent broadcast company, has been officially designated as a great place to work. Over the past 3 years, we have transformed our workplace into one which is respectful, caring, rewarding, and provides great benefits to all our 500 employees. We thank our team for giving us the chance to show that partnership between employer and employee really works. TVC Communications, officially designated as a great place to work, and now the only broadcasting and media company, not just in Nigeria, but throughout continental Africa, to be fully certified. TVC Communications, a great Nigerian company, a great Nigerian place to work.
Thanks for staying with us. We're still reading Punch.
Yeah, so yesterday I had taken the story of the 3 states in the north, Kebbi, Bauchi, and Kano State, that had asked their schools to be closed down during the Ramadan, and so there's a response from, the response to that message, the news I read yesterday. They're saying that they're reaffirming that the holiday granted to both primary and secondary schools in their states for Ramadan fast will not be reconsidered, despite, of course, concerns that were raised by CAN, that's the Christian Association of Nigeria. The Kebbi State governor, through his secretary, says that they are not reversing the decision. The closure of schools was a result of meetings with all relevant stakeholders, including religious leaders, parents, and others. He says the leadership of CAN and the Muslim community were carried along before the decision was reached. He explained that the closure would only affect a maximum of 2 weeks from the initial academic calendar, emphasizing that it would not disrupt school activities. Normal school calendar already had factored in the closure for the fasting period, so the issue of disrupting the academic calendar doesn't arise. Also, the Kano State Director of Public Enlightenment also said that there's no reason why the state government would reverse the directive, as the decision to close the schools was taken after meeting with all relevant stakeholders. So it looks like there was a meeting. They're also saying that parents were involved. They said they actually took the Christian Association of Nigeria along as well, that they were fully represented at those meetings. So probably they were represented, but they may not have agreed. But the thing is, this is what they have decided to do. But they also said that they had factored in that from the beginning. So the school calendar, had been drawn up based, knowing that those closures were going to happen.
From the start, I've always felt that, listen, see, the only way this country can move forward is if we understand and recognize differences. And if you don't like it, you may not understand it, but you got to respect it. And I'm happy that they've considered all these other factors. You might not like it, but based on your own worldview. But when you see this, as long as they consider the children's future, and consider education, that's all we should concern about. And I think they've shown that right now. So
and the academic calendar was factored in, so that's fine. So
let them be.
Residents of the Sam Etnan Air Force Base, Ikeja, Lagos State, are lamenting the 12-day blackout that has granted business and caused water scarcity in the barracks. They're saying that normally when things like this happen, they would ration the lights, but now nothing at all. And this is affecting small businesses like the tailors, the grocery stores, the laundry people, and essential services within the barracks. And now they are being forced to use their own generators, private generators, which is against the barracks rules. Yes. So they're saying that they've also rationed the use of water for just 30 minutes for the whole day, which is not possible for them, and it's between 6 a.m. and 6:30 a.m. and now they have to buy a gallon of water for 4,000 naira, and that's not sustainable. They're also saying that maybe the reason why this blackout has stretched for so long is because the barracks, they are owing the Ikeja electricity distribution company some money. So that they are begging that this should be sorted out, because it's not sustainable for them to keep buying water for that amount, for a gallon of water for 4,000 naira. How much are they really making? And that they are also abusing the rules within the barracks, which is to use private generators. So I just hope they sort this out, because that's a lot.
I've seen something. We've not had lights since Saturday. So when I called the disco yesterday in my district, what is happening? They said some miscreants pulled down the major poles on the express road of Badagry in front of the military barracks in Ojo, pulled it down just to break it off to extract iron. And so we are in darkness until that is reinstalled and wires are brought in. Over 300 something of wires. Why does
it not electrocute?
So we will secure pipeline now, we'll secure wire again, we'll secure pole.
As in nobody sees them. Do they do this thing so fast that?
But there's sometimes Nigerians will look at them and pass. It's not on my business. It's not my mother's property.
It's our civic responsibility also to
stop them.
But nobody cares. We just listen.
See, the governor should just there is security threats in that area. Nobody can stop them.
Exactly.
They outnumber anybody. You better be going to your house.
It's a reconditioning of the mind of our Nigerians, because no matter what the law enforcement you send out, they can't cover the whole of the state.
They have no knowledge of.
It's with the people that must educate our people.
So Chopper says something about human capital. They have no knowledge of the value of what they've destroyed. They destroyed it too.
Vanguard, Rivers crisis, I'm not scared of anything, says Governor Fubara. Ramadan Catholic bishops ask federal government to halt school closures. Nigeria loses trillions to illegal mine and says federal government. It's time to rescue PDP from imminent collapse, says concerned stakeholders. Picture story here will be at Chimamanda's book launch, and Tinubu receives Sierra Leone's president. NNPC of Dangote's price reduction excites petrol retailers. FG insures airport assets for 1.097 billion naira, says Keyamo. And Lagos Assembly of Obasa returns Miranda. Okay.
The federal government said yesterday that it has secured insurance policy for all the airport assets in the country at the cost of over 1 billion naira. The Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, disclosed this while briefing journalists yesterday. He also said that it is ridiculous that for so many years we have all these expensive gadgets and assets and nobody thought of insuring them. That so this has been done now in line with international best practices, and for the Nigerian airports to also obtain certification from the International Civil Aviation Organization. Finally, they listed the companies that are going to chop from this. Leadway they'll chop from it now. Leadway Assurance, food don't call for them. Leadway Assurance Company Limited, which is the lead underwriters, while the four co-underwriters are Cornerstone Insurance PLC, Linkage Assurance, NEM, and Anchor Insurance. I wish I get insurance company because this is a good time.
Nigeria, I'm thinking of chop. They were
no,
trying
not
to solve
chop,
problems.
it's a job.
Is solving
I mean, it's
problems.
a job. If you get a contract, it's chop. You're happy.
It's a job that you earn money.
How much is chop now?
Anyways, in response to what the story Mariam took, so the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Nigeria, CBC, yesterday urged the federal government to intervene and halt the decision by some northern governors to close schools for the 5 weeks during Muslim fasting period. It came when the CBC and the statement expressed concern that the move undermines Nigeria's secular constitution, infringes on the rights of non-Muslim students, and exacerbates the already alarming rates of out-of-school children in the region. As I said earlier, I mean, we always see things from one perspective and feel that every other person doesn't see. But either way, it's important that both sides of the divide come together and see understanding from both sides. So it's the Catholic bishops have a point saying that we're a secular state. The other northern governors also have a point saying that we are considered the educational factors of our kids, and we're ensuring that they're not going to be totally out of the educational system if they partake in this break. So let's find a way to meet halfway. Okay, moving on quickly to the Nigerian Tribune. Let's find our paper for this morning. Nigerians await next move as Obasa returns and Miranda resigns. NDLA nabs drug baron after 17 years in hiding. South stands behind Senate President, says King Dakolo. Closure of schools, we talked about that already. Reps extend deadline for submission of memoranda on state creation and local government areas. Jandor, Nima's friend, quits Lagos PDP, blames indiscipline and anti-party activities. And then NPC reduces petrol price to 860 naira. Okay, which story?
Okay.
So Jandor has
I need to take that story.
So the former governorship candidate of the PDP in Lagos State has resigned from the party. Did he explain anything? Just say he left the party because of conspiracy of party leaders to ensure he's blaming them for the 2023 poll loss that he suffered. He says he also blames the national chairperson leadership of the party for certain anti-party activities. He has not said where he's going. He just resigned,
and he carried his people with him.
Okay. Anyway, NDLA. That's shade. NDLA.
It's a fair question. Right? Go ahead with NDLA.
They've got a big fish. They say after 17 years of hiding in the dark to ship illicit drugs worth billions of naira across the world, the reign of a wanted 59-year-old drug baron, Ogbonnaya Kevin Jeff, has been brought to a halt following arrest by NDLEA. This was according to the CEO and chairman of NDLEA. They said that they've had they call it a red notice on him, and they've been watching him based on investigations, and finally he was arrested. They said this is in keeping with what they started 4 years ago, where they said that their prime targets are drug barons and other important figures who organize drug trafficking rings, and they said that they're able to achieve their objective with his arrest. He's been they said that their records revealed that many Nigerians apprehended outside the country for drug-related offenses were linked to him. They've established that he laundered drug proceeds through the importation of electronics and other goods, and that during his arrest, they found multiple Nigerian international passports belonging to different individuals, many of which contained Korean visas. They also recovered some illicit substances in the storehouse back at his house. You know, there's so many things that he had been involved in over the 17 years that he's been, you know, doing this business, and they're happy. He's also been locked up in Korea once for related to drug offenses, but for a year, and then he was deported to Nigeria, which did not stop him from Nigeria. He has his meals and constantly doing all that. So this is good news to NDLEA.
Fantastic.
And to Nigeria.
Yes, we wanted them to always catch the big guys, not the ones that are carrying the things in the airport. All right, let's go on a very short break. That's all we can take on Front Page Review right now. When we come back, we're bringing our guests for today. Remember, it's International Women's Month, and we're doing women's things all this month. So we have a special guest today. Hope you're staying tuned. We'll be right after the break. Don't go anywhere.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Do you think you can outplay me in this game of wits and knowledge? Can you go 7 rounds without flinching? I meant answering 7 questions correctly. How well can you hold your liquor? If you're curious, then join us for the most exciting conversation and games with your favorite celebrities on 7 of 7.
Welcome to Pure Entertainment. What would you like to order from our menu today? We have the regulars.
So let me go and look for my jammies.
My 280 was 320. I suppose don't be one medical.
At this point, I contest my jammies.
I want to close the show.
I can go. I can.
That's all we can take. Eje, can you close the show?
Ladies and gentlemen, #1 unavailable by Davido featuring Musa Keys.
We also have today's chef special.
Yo, shine, 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 shiny, yeah. Say recap done, and it's time for #1 on the countdown. One of Nigeria's hottest artists right now, his name is Rema, and this one is called Charm. Kick it.
Another.
For dessert and a bit of nightcap, we have the nighttime and online specials.
I want to start the gym, yeah? But do you know one thing that's actually keeping me back?
You should start the gym though, you're getting fat. Cricket.
She says she does pole dancing to empower women.
What's the difference?
There's a difference.
That's what I'm saying. So pole dancer, you're already almost naked. You're already almost naked.
No, the empowerment for me. Sex can make a relationship better.
No.
Sex can never be overrated.
It is needed.
Especially when it's good sex too. Almost every guy has been with somebody's girlfriend.
But they are for all of us now.
That's why you're still single.
I would not agree or disagree with that because I don't want to get into trouble. I have a home to go to.
Your next question.
Oh, you ready to fail?
Who is the better? You sisters. What is it?
That woman.
Damn!
Yeah,
Today we'll go here.
Hey!
Let's catch up.
I'm sure we've been able to satisfy your cravings, yeah? Stay good. Entertainment for Pure Entertainment. Now you can catch up with your favorite programs on TVC. Log on to www.tvcentertainment.com youtube.com/TVC Entertainment. Join the fun.
Oh, wow. My typical day is filled with meetings, consultations, and of course, traffic. And that's all part of the hustle and bustle of city life. But the real fun starts when I can just settle down and catch up with all my favorite programs on TVC. Believe me, it's pure entertainment.
Do you think you can outplay me in this game of wits and knowledge? Can you go 7 rounds without flinching? I meant answering 7 questions correctly. How well can you hold your liquor? If you're curious, then join us for the most exciting conversation and games with your favorite celebrities on 7 of 7.
Welcome to Pure Entertainment. What would you like to order from our menu today? We have the regulars.
So let me go and look for my jam results.
My 280 was 320. I suppose don't be one medical.
At this point, I contest my jam results.
I want to close the show.
I can go. I can.
That's all we can take.
I choose
Ejeki, close the show, Yi Fadala.
Ladies and gentlemen, number 1 unavailable by Davido featuring Musa Keys.
We also have today's chef special.
Yo, shine, 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 shiny, yeah. Say recap done, and it's time for number 1 on the countdown. One of Nigeria's hottest artists right now, his name is Rema, and this one is called Charm. Kick it.
Thanks for staying with us as we continue our countdown to this year's International Women's Month. We have an Amazon in the studio, a quintessential businesswoman, boardroom guru, seasoned speaker, also an erudite author. Welcome with us. We're so honored to have her in the house, Dr. Ibukun Awushika. Welcome to the show. Such a pleasure. We've been trying to get you on this show for years, but we're so happy finally God made it happen today.
I run away from screens.
It's good to have you. So, because it's International Women's Month,
yes,
and as women, we still have a lot of struggles in homes, marriages, businesses, creating wealth, parenting. So much out there that we still need some supporting other women for. So, bringing you on the show today, we're just going to unpack it layer by layer. I'll probably start with some of the messages we've seen on social media and people sending us messages knowing that you're coming. And one of the first I'd like to start with is there was a video that went around where you were talking about how a woman, even though she's making more money than her husband, should always honor her husband. It's not the amount of money you make that makes your husband the head. He's an ordained role. And there's a woman who listened to you in her mid-30s and took that hook, line, and sinker and says, okay, because of that, I'm going to respect my husband regardless of what he's bringing in. Fast forward 10 years down the line, and he's still not bringing, she has respected him, honored him, he's still not making up to par to the family, and the kids are grown. Now we're talking about university, we're talking about we need more finances, and she's getting frustrated to the point that, where are we going? I've respected you, but yet you've not matched up to the plate. And secondly, you're now being, maybe there's issue of infidelity. So a woman now feels like, I have done everything, and yet you still don't get that honor back. So when a woman listens to you and she's thinking it's all going to go away if I just honor and respect him, and then happens, it doesn't happen, how would you advise her? How would you choose to advise her?
Okay, thank you for having me. I know, when you put those narrations like that, it looks so absolute. But what we must pay attention to is we're looking for a solution for a problem that's already been created. Okay. What do I mean by that? We first need to go back to talking about how do young women choose their spouses. What do you consider in choosing who you marry? And what are you looking for when you choose who you get married to? What are your considerations? Now, obviously, between this example that we're talking about and many types like that, the girl might probably be in a position where she has a higher earning power from the onset. And the guy has a lower earning power. It's possible that a man is responsible, that he's God-fearing, that he's kind, that he's a good man, but economically his wife earns more, just by the nature of their career path or the kind of jobs that they have. That's possible.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So if you have that scenario, and it happens to a lot of people, a guy works in a bank, the guy works for government, in a public sector or something, or works in like FMCG or certain industries that are maybe not as high paying as the career of the girl. Now, do you want the guy to tell you to resign and look for a lower paying job just so that the order can be like that? So we need to sort of answer some questions, because when we get married, biblically, and that's where our point of view comes from, the Bible says, and the two is one, which means that when you get married, you become one unit. The economy of the family is what is key. And the economy of the family, there's many scenarios where the man is the one with the higher earning power. There are other scenarios where the woman earns more. And there are scenarios where you're both trying and pulling weight. And there are scenarios where one season this one is high, another season the other one is high. Now, should we say that the man should be as frustrated when the woman cannot contribute as much as him? Now, traditionally, whether we like it or not, traditionally and really by faith, across all faiths, the man is the head of the home. Now, and I know that sometimes we desire change, but you can't live outside of your context. And what is your context? The context tells you right now that in most societies, the man is the head of the home. So do you want to win in the context of your own time and your season, or you are looking for a time that has not come yet? And you want to play the terms of that season. So it's a practical position. So if for any reason you earn more, but the guy is responsible. See, there's a difference between an irresponsible adult man and a responsible man who is giving the best of what he has. But the best that he has is not more than yours. It should become irrelevant. Because in that case, it's the economy of the family. And you must be able to identify the good in him, the sense of responsibility, the value he brings, even though you bring more economic value.
Fantastic.
So those are the factors that we need to, and we will have, a lot of women will be more at peace when we don't make those our problems. You know, once you accept that, okay, this is my scenario, why are you even discussing the economy of your household with your friends? The bottom line is, your house is working.
Yes.
Be grateful.
I agree.
You guys, what if none of you have? Would you rather you have that position?
Let me get in a few more questions for you. Go ahead.
Thank you for clarifying this, because we've been back and forth on this particular point on the show when she talks about being the head, and I compare it to a situation where a man chooses to just be in a patriarchal dominance, where a woman is then made to be work and provide for me. You know, we've seen abusive circumstances like that. As a lawyer, I have dealt with a 26-year-old marriage where that was the norm, and he would say, they never born and where make she chop until I have eaten. She will cook for the family. So I found out she was like that from the get-go. Thank God that she said, you know, choosing from the beginning was important.
That is the key part, and we need to invest time in that. Ensure that girls are taught how to choose their husband. What are the key parameters? If we solve the problem before, the things we deal with after becomes a little different. And we need to teach women across different social levels.
I agree.
Because our approach is different.
Thank you for the clarity. So that's my question.
Okay. Yeah, so is it a marriage question? Because I want to go straight to parenting. Okay, so Ma, of course, you know, you are respected and admired because for also being successful materially as well, of course, beyond your you know, wisdom. Yes, but there's also, because you have material wealth and you have raised sons, and we're in a time where a lot of families, you know, maybe they came from really poor resources, but they've been able to build wealth for themselves, and they are raising children in circumstances that are different from theirs, where they learned a lot of life lessons because of their tough background. Their children are in a different, you know, scenario, and they're wondering, what are the tools I need to teach? What are the tools I need? What are the skills I need to teach my children so that they have the same hunger and ambition that brought me here? So we find parents who are hardworking parents, you know, but their children just don't seem to have the same values as their parents.
Okay, to be honest, one of the things that should worry a lot of us the most is how to raise children right in the middle of plenty. If you have some comfort, you must be careful about how you raise your children. And I know that the values that we were raised with made a lot of difference. I do not come from a rich family. I come from a middle-class family. And middle-class families give you a good education. Your parents invest in a good education. They teach you what is right and what is wrong. And they send you to the world to make your way. Now, I think for all of us, and it doesn't matter what your economic status is, honestly, because we're just in a time and a season that is difficult to raise children because the influences are high. The children are battling a whole world view that runs from one end of the world to the other. Helping them to find their cultural context and establishing the values that we were raised with, that becomes the responsibility of each one of us, and it has to be deliberate and intentional. I'll give an example. I remember at a stage when my kids were in school in England, we used to have all these arguments about they had friends who went to school only in business and first class. And so, you know, and when children enter the plane, you know, we have certain flights you call school bus. You say, are you going to the left or to the right? You know, and all of that. So one day, one of my sons asked me, and I said to him, I said, see, when you go in that economy, every person that you see there, adults, worked hard to buy the ticket. You are there for free. Because somebody else paid for it. That the next time you fly business, you know, when they're really young, they have to fly with you. So they fly where you fly. But after, when you send them to the back, they will now complain. You now remind them that somebody worked hard to pay for that. So you put them there deliberately. So we have to be intentional. That's what I've realized. We as parents must decide, what are the values that I treasure? What are the things that I want to ensure that my children grow up with? I always say, I do not want to steal my children's dreams. And how do you not steal your children's dreams? If you use your own success to kill their own ambition, you have stolen their dreams. Because you set them up not to have a need. So you must intentionally create things in their lifestyle that helps to nurture them to want to be something. From the allowances you give to ensuring that for a certain stage of their life, even if you can afford first class, why should you put them there? You know, when you are a student and you're going to school, then you sit in certain places because that's ideal for you at that point. At a point, my husband and I decided that we'll give our children their, instead of weekly allowances when they were in boarding school in England, they'll get their allowance for the term in one go.
They have to manage it.
If you like, finish spending it.
1 week.
That's your own problem.
Yeah.
Because you are going to then pay the price of not having that discipline. Then, yes, if you go shopping with children over the holidays, they want to buy everything when you're paying for it.
Yes.
Then we decided to change the pattern. This is your budget for the holiday. If you like, buy one thing with it. It's nobody's problem. All of a sudden, you start saying, I can't afford this, I can't afford this, I can't afford this.
Let me go on a very short break. When we come back, we continue this conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your view will be right back.
Welcome to Pure Entertainment. What would you like to order from our menu today? We have the regulars.
So let me go and look for my jammies.
My 280 was 320. I suppose don't be one medical.
At this point, I contest my jammies.
I want to close the show.
I can go. I can.
That's all we can take. Ejeki, close the show. Give for that long.
Ladies and gentlemen, number one, Unavailable by Davido featuring Musa Keys.
We also have today's chef special.
Yo, shine, 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 shiny, yeah. Say recap done, and it's time for number one on the countdown. One of Nigeria's hottest artists right now, his name is Rema, and this one is called Charm. Kick it.
For dessert and a bit of nightcap, we have the nighttime and online specials.
I want to start the gym, yeah? But do you know one thing that's actually keeping me back?
You should start the gym to get fat. Cricket.
She says she does show dancing to empower women.
What's the difference? There's a difference.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. So pole dancer, you're already almost naked. You're already almost naked.
No, it's the empowerment for me.
Sex can make a relationship better.
No.
Sex can never be overrated.
It is needed.
Especially when it's good sex too.
Almost every guy has been with somebody's girlfriend.
But they're for all of us now.
That's why you're still single.
I would not agree or disagree with that because I don't want to get into trouble. I have a home to go to.
Your next question.
Oh, you ready to fail?
Who is the better? You see some spice.
That woman.
Damn.
Yeah,
Today we'll go here.
Hey.
Let's get talking.
I'm sure we've been able to satisfy your cravings, yeah? Stay good. Entertainment for Pure Entertainment.
Now you can catch up with your favorite programs on TVC. Log on to www.youtube.com/TVC Entertainment. Join the fun.
Oh, wow. My typical day is filled with meetings, consultations, and of course traffic, and that's all part of the hustle and bustle of city life. But the real fun starts when I can just settle down and catch up with all my favorite programs on TVC. Believe me, it's pure entertainment.
TVC Communications, Nigeria's leading independent broadcast company, has been officially designated as a great place to work. Over the past 3 years, we have transformed our workplace into one which is respectful, caring, rewarding, and provides
Thanks for staying with us. We still have our guests here with us. We have still on this parenting issue, because one of the only time I have a fight with my husband is usually on parenting the kids, because we do things from two different divides. I'm a bit more liberal, and it's not because I'm liberal, but it's more that I go for all these conferences. You learn that you don't have to hit children. You can actually have a conversation with them. And I see I have 4 kids, and they're different. The one you can spank, I know. The one that you need to speak to, I know. But my husband doesn't understand that. He just wants everybody's getting spanked. and there's always that thing, and there's always that clash and friction on how to raise these kids the right way, especially in this season, because it's a fast-paced world. And if you keep using the techniques our parents use, it might not work. But he doesn't get that. He's like, I was raised right, you were raised right, so that's the format we're going to use for the kids. And it's always a problem.
Look, I think that's in so many African families. It's not specific to your husband. And I'm not taking his side, but I'm just telling you, it's a context of culture for us. On Saturday, I was in Abuja preaching at a church, and it was on parenting. It was a parenting conference. Yeah, and I remembered a gentleman, asking a similar question about all of this kind of approach. The reality is, we're in the 21st century. Our children are different from us. They're growing up with so much influence. It's a real struggle for them to stand. Not just by their own choices, but just the environment that they're in. So they need a lot more engagement and support from us. We have to learn how to communicate with them. We must find how to endear ourselves to them such that we're their first line of communication. Otherwise, they would share their fears with their friends and they would get the wrong counsel. So we need to engage. So you're right in talking about communicating. There's also a moment to chastise a child. So your husband is right in many ways, but we must decide what is appropriate at what time, and each child is different. I have 3 sons, they're 3 nations. I would say women run multi-nations. Yes. So you must run 4 nations in your house. Well, by the time you count your husband, it becomes 5 nations. So it's really for us to try and understand the nature of each child. Find the way of communicating with each child, because it's different. The way to get through to one, don't use the same rule for all our children. And honestly, I don't know that we can do it without praying. Because we really need divine help for this time and season. We have to be very discerning, and women are better at that because we have greater intuition. So you must be able to sense things before they happen, and you must see a trend that you can nip in the bud as much as you want to love. But also as women, we mustn't over love in a way that they take advantage of it. What is also important for us is, as husband and wife, we must act like a team with the children. Otherwise, they'll play us.
Easy.
So we need to play both.
So this is so easy because it just moved to where I was headed, like the faith-based and the spiritual aspect of the marriage and the home. What do you think in the sense that, because I know you're a very faith and very spiritual person, in terms of everything that you've done, your decisions is in the everything, it's in the hedged in the word. So what do you think about a situation where, if, let's say a parent or parents are pastors, and then the kids are dealing with certain things, even though they grew up in the word, and they feel the fear of certain things happening with them in terms of maturing, in terms of adolescence, to have those conversations, like sexuality, to have those conversations with you as with the pastor parents. And then most times you find out that some kids that grew up in that aspect, when they're out or in the school or universities, they act out differently because they just feel like, oh, I've been caged. Or so what kind of relationship would you advise parents to create a balance where children can make every decision, no matter what comes out them in terms of peer pressure, that they stand in their decisions to say, these are my family values?
You know, the thing, I'm a pastor and I'm a parent, but the reality is your pastoral calling is on one side. Your parenting assignment is on another side. And we can't afford to mix them up. We mustn't abandon our responsibility as a parent because of our calling. Two, the challenge is people tend to judge the children of pastors harshly. Everybody has a view, especially when he's a church pastor, you know, a lead pastor in a church or something. They are accountable to everybody before they make one move. The mistakes normal children can make that parents will walk through with them, the children of a pastor don't have that. So the pressure is a lot, and don't forget they are still children, and living under that kind of pressure and everybody having an opinion about their life is not healthy for any child. So as parents who are in that position, we have the responsibility to protect our children. We must be able to build the same kind of relationship we were talking about with them in a way that they can, you know, build their own faith for themselves. You can't hold my children at the level of my faith because they are walking their own journey and they're going to be accountable for it. And if the parents don't speak up to defend their children, others will take advantage of that, you know. So we must protect our children and find how to balance it.
But I have seen this, remember, by when I traveled, when I was in Nigeria, I saw the pastor, then I traveled abroad and I saw the kids, and they are two different worlds. The kids are being very Americanish, you know, dressed very like normal, like, you know, and I'm thinking, are you sure you're Pastor XYZ's child? In my mind, after they say it out. But, and that's probably the confusion church members always have, where the kind of standards you force us to adhere to, especially when we're in Nigeria. When we see your kids don't have to, and that there's always that issue. So as a pastor, how have you ever, do you ever have to maneuver around this?
Look, if children are children, and they will express themselves depending on the generation that they're in. And as parents, we have to find how to deal with our own children in their way. Like I said, it takes children walk through their own journey of faith. And if you don't allow them some sense of liberty and self-expression until they own their faith and they make their own decisions, all you will have is resentment. And their children will totally cut off from their parents over time just because they do not have, you know, they feel caged. So there is a thin line that you need to walk through, and parents must be, I think as pastors that are parents, we must be open to talk about even our own challenges. We should stop acting like we're perfect or that our children are perfect. Because they're not. They're children, you know, and they will have their own challenges as people in the church will have challenges. So we need to be open and honest with our congregations.
When you were answering the issue of, you know, you gave the example of the plane seats for kids, I was wondering, you know, these days parents don't even have clarity what they want as parents. You know, you said we had to be deliberate parents, and I'm wondering, when you yourself don't even know what exactly your family value is, you know, you're confused and you have to now grow another human properly. How do you first determine what your family values are? do you have to, in some marriages, like Maria mentioned, there are clashes. You have a clarity, maybe because of your background, what your own family values are from maybe how you were raised, but you're clashing with a new family now because you're married, and you don't necessarily want to adopt everything you've seen there. And so you have another individual adult that you have to then sit and deal with that. So how do you really have clarity on what your goal as to your child's outcome is?
There's something the Bible says. The Bible says, can two walk together except they agree? What does that mean? How do you marry a guy that your core values are not aligned? Those are questions we must resolve. Remember the first question I started with, the real issue starts from before we get married, in choosing who we marry. Because by the time you get married, there must be commonality of values that are core. And then you apply that to the children in various ways based on your pattern of influence. Where you're not sure, the parents can have a conversation about it, that look, we shouldn't do this and this is why. We should do this. Sometimes, yes, you will disagree. Everybody doesn't agree all of the time. But at the end, if your core values are the same, you're likely to agree on the things that are most important. And then you will trust. Of the two, there's always one that is stronger at one side or the other. You have to then trust each other's strengths and allow the strength of each couple, each member of the team to be for the benefit of the children. The intentionality is key and responsibility is key.
Okay.
If you know that what you want is not right for the children, the parent that holds the view must make a case with the other parent until they reach, so that you're not speaking against each other. The children will play you once you do that.
Ma'am, there's sometimes also, it's not about the children, it could be the in-laws. So you're dealing with your husband, but also sometimes your husband is saying things, and you know that there are people, this is not him speaking, they are influencing him. You may even come to a decision or an agreement, and then he comes back because he's changed his mind, because someone who you respect, maybe a mother or whoever, an in-law, has changed his mind. How do you deal with that?
I'm smiling because you know what? Every woman must know how to play to win in our own home. And playing to win in your own home is about wisdom and understanding. When I say wisdom, you know what you want to achieve. You also know the terrain. You know your mother-in-law, you know your father-in-law, you know your in-laws, you know your husband. Work out your own salvation in your own situation and work out how you achieve what you want with your own children. Sometimes they're going to say something, you're going to say, yes, ma, thank you. You listen, oh, it's true, mama. Do they live in your house with you? No. Then you're going to find ways.
On this one. Sorry to interrupt. So I understand that sometimes you have to stoop, but there's times where let's say you have a strong personality. You're dealing with strong personalities. Father-in-law is strong, mother-in-law is strong. They're commanding and demanding. I had an instance, my rule growing up was no child under 12 sits in the passenger side of the car. And one time my husband was going to take his mom out, and I was still trying to embed that.
It's a safety rule.
Is it? Thank you, ma. My father had been a safety, just used to make it a rule. So I said, my daughter, I was trying to embed it in her. She was just 3 at the time, and I said, she doesn't have to sit here. We had agreed. And on this particular day, my mother-in-law was at the back seat, and my husband was like, so that she can comfortably sit, she should sit in the passenger side. I was like, why did the rule just change? It wasn't a time I wanted to stoop to allow
safety first.
So I insisted. I said, that's a safety rule. She goes to the back.
But I agree with you.
Grandma. And so we had a clash outside in front of my
but do you realize it's not what you said, it's about how you say it. So there's A, there's B of the same thing. There's Pele, there's Pelejo. So when you look at the scenario, his mother is there and he's taking a position. He wants to impress his mom that is the head in that situation. If you are going to say, she can't sit there, you're going to say, you know that you're putting her life at risk. The grandmother does not want to put the grandchild's life at risk. So when you lay the reason why, understanding at that point what is important to the man, respect. What is important to his mother, to see that his son is respected in that moment. But you have a goal to achieve. You're going to say, sorry, my husband, she cannot sit there. You know that it's a safety situation. If, for instance, you stop suddenly for a child, the chances of death and all of that, even the grandmother will learn that at that point. Say, she has to go to the back. His tone, his language, and his attitude. It makes all the difference. And we have to, like I said, every woman knows her own husband. Work out how to achieve.
I'm about to go into business.
I want to ask some more questions. Because this is a question that, you know, the norm usually will be, not like the norm, but like what we see is that, you know, couples fight, there's abuse, there's one thing and one thing, then people now fall out. But how about a scenario where there's nothing wrong? He's not abusing you. He's a provider. She's playing her own role. But then one party falls out of love. And they are living like roommates. They are unhappy. The environment is not toxic for the kids, because whether I like it or not, even though they are not quarreling on anything, you can just tell that there's no love within that home anymore. So what happens when, because it's not, maybe people most times feel like it's not something they can deal with, but you just fall out of love with someone that was supposed to be the love of your life,
and you just walk out.
What happens in that scenario?
Yeah, I don't know about people just falling out of love. Okay, because marriage is a covenant. It's a commitment. It's not about your convenience. It is that we have a divine contract that we will walk through these seasons of our lives together. And it's simply that. When a lot of times people fall into the situation you call fall out of love because they wandered into things they shouldn't. And then the distraction that they get into makes them believe that these things have happened. Honestly, love is hard work. You have to nurture it. You must invest in it. You must be intentional about caring for each other. You must be intentional about creating time, forgiving each other, creating time for one another, celebrating one another, you know, honoring yourselves, loving, supporting. Love is hard work. It's an intentional work. It's not the feeling.
If it's not that I wanted to move, I would have begged that you should repeat that seasons of life.
let me go on a short break. When we come back, because we can't have you here and not talk about how to business. Because women want to create wealth. We are empowered these days, and we want to learn a few things from. Let's go on a short break. When we come back, we'll move into how we can build a successful and sustainable business. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your view will be right back.
TVC Communications, Nigeria's leading independent broadcast company, has been officially designated as a great place to work. Over the past few years, we have transformed our workplace into one which is respectful, caring, rewarding, and provides great benefits to all our 500 employees. We thank our team for giving us the chance to show that partnership between employer and employee really works. TVC Communications, officially designated as a great place to work, and now the only broadcasting and media company, not just in Nigeria, but throughout continental Africa, to be fully certified. TVC Communications, a great Nigerian company, a great Nigerian place to work.
Do you think you can outplay me in this game of wits and knowledge? Can you go 7 rounds without flinching? I meant answering 7 questions correctly. How well can you hold your liquor? If you're curious, then join us for the most exciting conversation and games with your favorite celebrities on 7 of 7.
Welcome to Pure Entertainment. What would you like to order from our menu today? We have the regular.
So let me go and look for my jam results. So
My 280 was 320. I suppose don't be one medical.
At this point, I contest my jam results.
I want to close the show.
I can go. I can.
That's all we can take. Ejeki, close the show. Ladies
and gentlemen, number 1 unavailable by Davido featuring Musa Keys.
We also have today's chef special.
Yo!
Thanks for staying with us. So we have information that we might be cutting off very soon from the TVC News channel because of the live which will be coming up very soon, the Ministerial Press Briefing Series. So we'll be cutting off right now from the TVC News. However, for those of you watching us on TVC News, you can link up with us online on TVC News or TVC Entertainment. We'll be there to continue the show. So when it comes to business, and the reason why I wanted to come into business is because it's also somewhat sandwiched in marriage, because a woman wants to build a business, but she's being restricted. Husband saying go and own a shop, and she's like, no, I want much more than that. I actually want to build something from scratch and make it something formidable. And I know of a woman whose husband said, the only thing, I don't want you working, I just want you to have that shop. He gave you a small shop, and she didn't want that because she was a graduate. She felt that she wanted to start a consulting job. He felt that would put her out there to too many people, and he just didn't want her that exposed. So she was now forced to having a small store. So once in a while, whenever I go and see her, she says, Maria, I see you on TV and I just feel like I could do much more. This is not me. But because she's confined by her husband's directive that this is what you have to have. So when a woman is in that kind of situation, how do you help her? How do you counsel her? Or do you just say, listen, that's the choice you've made, stay with it?
You know, the thing about these kind of questions and these scenarios, we go back to where?
The beginning.
Honestly, if we invest a lot of time in how women choose husbands, a lot of the problems we try to solve later will be eliminated.
Yeah.
Because what business do you have if you're a woman who is driven, ambitious, and wants to do certain things, marrying a guy who wants a housewife who just does petty trade? There's a mismatch from the onset. She will always feel miserable, defeated, and unhappy and unfulfilled. And because of that dissatisfaction, even the man cannot get the best of her, nor can her children. And then, how do you say you love someone that you do not give the room to be the best of themselves? Because the reality is, you want your wife to be a gift. And I always say, look, at the end, everybody is accountable to God. The man is accountable to God for his life and his role as a father and a husband. The woman is accountable to God for her life and her role as a wife and as a mother. If in your role as a husband, you cap the gift of God in your wife, you're accountable to God for that. So if the man feels insecure in himself, to feel that my wife succeeding will be a problem for me, there's a challenge. Think of it. Life happens. Men die. Accidents happen. Businesses go wrong. Men run into financial trouble. The women they have not empowered cannot be an asset to them in any way. So when you create that situation and something happens to you, your wife cannot look after your children that you love so much. Even the business you have built, she's not in a situation where she can step in any way and drive it forward. So there are real things about this, and there are real consequences. It's really that we must pay attention to who we are. I always say no girl should choose a husband. She has a sense of herself. Until she has a sense of who she is, what she wants to be, where she wants to go. And then when she's considering who her husband is, she then chooses someone who has the capacity for them to work together and be successful together, if that's what. And you can choose. The woman might just want to be a housewife and she's happy to be that. That's fine. But the one that doesn't want to be that, that's forced to be that, that's where the problem is. So the responsibility is on every girl and every guy to know who they are and make the right choice for them. So we need to pay more attention. Stop chasing daughters. Go and bring a husband. Go and bring a wife. No. We need them to find the wife and the husband that together they can bring the best out of themselves.
Ma'am, you sit on several boards. You're a leader in the corporate world, and you know you have done it sustainably over the years. We have stories of women who may have started strong, and then when you sit with them over the years, you say, well, when I got married, or when I had children, or something. It just always seems like with women, there's something that sort of truncates it, but you have sustained it through the years. What are the tips that you think you could share with us to encourage us and motivate us to do it like you do? Well, like you've done.
I think that I'm grateful to God for the opportunities I've had. I'm grateful to God for a good husband. And I don't take that lightly, because it does make a lot of difference with your spouses. That spousal support, understanding, and capacity to embrace your ambition and your drive, and to encourage you to take on the things that come along your path, it makes all the difference, because otherwise it makes your life a lot more difficult. And having the liberty of spirit to also find support systems. Okay, you must learn how to, don't be deceived by the narrative of a superwoman, because she doesn't exist. What exists is a smart woman, because a smart woman will understand what her strengths are, what her weaknesses are, what support she needs, and she will either endure it or pay for it, but she will allow the system to support her, to help her to achieve what she needs. And that requires that you learn how to deal with people, and you learn how to invest in treating people like they have value, from your driver to your house help to your cook to anybody around you. You know, build a support system that has value for you, and let it support your journey. I think in many cases, in many ways, I've been blessed.
So what would you say works for you more? Because most times when I listen to you, although mostly on nation building, I hear how you talk about how you schooled here, how gifted and blessed this place is. But you can see in the population now, if we do not jackpot, it's as if we will not make it. Everybody has a jackpot dream. We will pray for it. It's a success story when you're able to do it. And you wonder how we want to grow.
Have you seen the jackpotters?
I'm not. I'm yet to
there are
see.
many.
I'm waiting to see.
Because there are also a lot of bad stories.
Okay, so this nation has been cursed more times by the younger population than it has been blessed by them. And I've heard you a lot of times, and I would really like to use this opportunity to address some of these things I will hear every time. How do we take advantage of whatever it is God has put here? And why, or is there a why God put us here?
There's a why God put us here. There's a reason, from my own belief system, there's a reason why I'm a Nigerian and you are a Nigerian and you don't come from any of those other countries. There's also a reason why there are people that have prospered in Nigeria despite the challenges of Nigeria. I mean, when I was starting my manufacturing business before my 26th birthday, there was no power. Well, power is still a challenge. Money wasn't readily available for a young girl who wanted to go into manufacture or anything. In fact, the banks only used to deal with big corporations now. It's actually a better time, because now you have microfinance, you have all sort of grants and stuff that can help. There's a lot of focus on supporting young people in terms of knowledge. So it's not as if, you know, it was always easier for the other people. But the thing is, in every season, there are abundance of opportunities that we must learn how to take within. Anyhow, look at it. We're creating some unicorns in the tech space. They're young Nigerians. Most of them went to school here. It's not the ones that went to school abroad. And they're creating solutions. We have many problems. but we also have many opportunities. And then when you get on the plane and you see how many white faces are on your flight that are coming into Nigeria or that live in Nigeria, what are they doing here? Their values they've come to take, and their values they see. Anywhere else, we're second, third, fourth level citizens. This is the only place where we have first right to operate. Yes, it's not made easy for us by all of the challenge of governance and stuff we've had over the years and the systemic issues. But if we all run away, who will fix it? That's just the truth.
So yes, I really admire your career growth and how decisive you speak whenever you talk about the choices that you've made.
And recently I watched something that you said about the interview of a country manager that was supposed to be second, and then they brought him for you to approve, and they came again, and the board came again, and they said that he was actually the second person. They wanted somebody else, and then years after he had sent a message to tell you thank you so much for sticking with him. So my question here is, as a leader, as a boss, what's over the years has informed and influenced decisions that you've taken, regardless of the noise around you, regardless of playing to the gallery of the politics of a work environment? What has informed you and made you stand strong in certain decisions and choices that you've made over the years?
I think first and foremost, it's important to know what your core values are. You must decide to what you answer. For me, my faith drives everything. The way I was raised, and my faith based, and my values based on my faith. So it's about in every way that I can to live a life of justice, fairness, and equity, and to fight for the right things because it's the right thing to do. And sometimes that will put you in a fight against people, but I think every price you pay for the right things, ultimately, if you advertise internally and people take part in a process and you have a fair result position, and by some way that result comes to me based on my office to see and take certain actions, and I've taken those actions, you can't come back for whatever self-interest to try to change it, because there's someone at the end of it that injustice will be meted out to.
Can I ask you a question, ma'am?
Yes.
Are you rich?
What kind? Where are you?
Because the reason, let me tell you why I'm asking that question.
This isn't about values, isn't about money. Value is about what allows you to go to bed at night. And it also depends, what do you count as wealth? For me as a person, being able at the end of my days to stand before God and hold my hand to say I've done my best in what I was called to do. I've fought a good fight of faith. That's far more important to me than any money. So this isn't about money.
I love the way you answered that, because the reason why I was asking that question, because a lot of young people are looking at you and saying, okay,
it's only about the money.
It's about the money. They want to see wealth.
It's the stage of their lives and level of understanding. There are also many young people that have the right position. And you see, one of the reasons why I spend a lot of time with young people, with all these life series and all of that, is we cannot hold them accountable for what we haven't taught them. That is the truth. And what they see right now is they see a lot of people that have money that you cannot really explain how they made money. So really, all the measure they have been taught to celebrate is wealth. Now, why don't you show them something different? Why don't you teach them that at the end of the day, look, a rich man, money doesn't buy you honor. Yoruba people say, when you go after money, when you get the money, what are you going to try to use it to do? To buy honor and a good name. So what is the point if at the end you destroy your entire legacy of you? I always say there are three things I treasure: the name of God in my life, my father's name, and my husband's family name, because it's my children's name. So whatever I am doing, at the end, I want to protect those three. The legacy I hope I give to my children is that legacy of righteousness and a good name. Because money, you can make money, but you can also lose money.
Yes.
And if you are focused on the right things and your mind is right, they will make their own money.
Let me go on a short break.
Very short.
This is the final. This is the final.
I'm
lap.
enjoying this.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your view will be right back.
Welcome to Pure Entertainment. What would you like to order from our menu today? We have the regular.
So let me go and look for my jam results.
My 280 was 320. I suppose don't be one medical.
At this point, I contest my jam results.
I want to close the show.
I can go. I can.
Yeah, that's all we can take. Ejeki, close the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, number one, Unavailable by Davido featuring Musa Keys.
We also have today's chef special.
Yo, shine, 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 shiny, yeah. Say recap done, and it's time for number one on the countdown. One of Nigeria's hottest artists right now, his name is Rema, and this one is called Charm. Kick it.
Another.
For dessert and a bit of nightcap, we have the nighttime and online specials.
I want to start the gym, yeah? But do you know one thing that's actually keeping me back? You should start the gym though, you're getting fat. Cricket.
She says she does show dancing to empower women.
What's the difference? There's a difference.
That's what I'm saying.
So pole dancer, you're already almost naked. You're already almost naked.
The empowerment for me.
Sex can make your relationship better.
No.
Sex can never be overrated.
It is needed.
Especially when it's good sex too. Almost every guy has been with somebody's girlfriend.
But they are for all of us now.
That's why you're still single.
I would not agree or disagree with that because I don't want to get into trouble. I have a home to go to.
Your next question.
Oh, you ready to fail?
Who is the better? You scissors. What is his name?
That woman.
Bam! Bam!
Today we'll go here.
Hey!
Let's catch up now.
I'm sure we've been able to satisfy your cravings, yeah? Stay tuned to TVC Entertainment for Pure Entertainment.
Now you can catch up with your favorite programs on TVC. Log on to www.youtube.com/TVC Entertainment. Join the fun.
Oh, wow. My typical day is filled with meetings, consultations, and of course, traffic. And that's all part of the hustle and bustle of city life. But the real fun starts when I can just settle down and catch
Thanks for staying with us. Still have our guest with us. Miriam had a question.
Yes.
Go ahead, please.
So, Ma, you don't know how personally happy makes me that you're here saying what you're saying.
Thank you.
Especially because, you know, I've gotten to a point in my life where I've started questioning some of my values and thinking if they're important or if they make sense in this world. Because what I'm hearing you say today, I've always heard growing up, you know, from my role models, my mom, my aunties, and I just feel that people who have those values just never make it. When we speak or people like us speak, it's like, where's your money? Why are you giving advice? But here you are, at least, you know, we know that you are blessed, you are successful, and you have those values. Today, a young girl wants to make money. She thinks that she has to sleep with someone. She needs to pay bribes. Yes, and those are the things. And then when you talk about money, it has to be this monstrosities that they got all sorts of cars that they are giving each other and gifting each other on social media. So a young girl beside us is thinking, and see, I don't know, you don't have those cars, you don't have those money, why are you giving me any advice? So I'm happy that you're here talking about it. But what would you say to a young girl today, a 20-something-year-old girl who has just begun her career, who's just going into life and thinking, I want to be successful, who do I follow? What example should I follow? And how do value? And what's the importance of, you said honor. You know, when you said money buys, some people use money to buy honor. Honor is more important. Like today, someone will ask you, why is honor important? Why do I need honor in today's world when I can have money?
Well, you know, we always tend to have amnesia when it comes to these things, because I think Nigeria itself is resplendent with stories of many people that seemed like they had money for a season and seemed popular and everybody knew them and all of that, and somewhere everything falls apart and they're totally destroyed. Any money that doesn't have honor and a good name behind it is always at risk. So, and you don't live a life of values for others, you live it for you, because it is what gives you peace. So it's important to self-identify, decide what is important to you in a sustainable manner, because you see, it's one thing to have, I mean, when you think of all of these Nollywood movies that somebody goes to do money medicine, and then you do money juju, and they tell you, well, at 40 you will die. You say, it's better than this poverty. When you get to the 40, you don't want to die, because now they know the good life, but maybe if they had waited another 5 years, they would still have made it, and then they would have been able to live till 100. So we need to go back to being examples. There are many honest Nigerians. There are many Nigerians who have done well with the right values, but they're quiet.
Ma, I need to ask you this. You know, so we are in a society now where you require money to be whatever it is you want to be.
You require money to live. However, you do not require to be a criminal to live. Do you understand? So the bottom line is, look, the difference between, okay, so somebody needs to steal and destroy a whole country to make money, so they can fly private jets or destroy other people, say they can fly private jets, have the kind of parties nobody has had before, and blah 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 blah.
Yes.
What? And somebody else can work hard and they can fly first class and get to where they're going and stay in good hotels and have a good life and live in a home. Can you sleep in 2 bedrooms? No. Can you drive 10 cars together? No. Even if you have 10 cars on the road, you're only going to sit in one part of one, and the other cars can cause you accidents as they run into each other. The reality is, if we don't redefine the society by speaking up, we will all pay the price. That is the truth. Because our children will be destroyed by what we have permitted.
Are we not at the point of paying the price now because of what is prevalent?
The reality is we still have a whole generation of children to raise. So we cannot say we're at a finite point of bad things. We must, at whatever point we are, decide we want to be better than where we are. We must re-establish and change those values so that we can get the kind of leadership and support that we need. Otherwise, then we've created our own problems with our own hands.
Okay, so let's talk about the lack of servitude any longer in our society, where, you know, for me, I understand that, you know, my own value system, how it's important to serve, to grow, to learn. With this era of Gen Z, where nobody wants to work, nobody wants to serve, everybody just wants to go on the internet and start a business, and also have the finances available for them, SMEs, to start any business. And, you know, they are not really full, as in, they don't really even understand what it is to have a structure of a business, to be a leader, be a boss, employ people, you know, speaking to people that they have. It's not just to open a business and be a boss. You know, there's much more work to building a business and employing people and speaking and feeding their lives too as employees. What is your take? Do you think that some people just wake up, it's okay for people to just wake up and just own and just start their business in their 20s? Or do you think it's important that we rebuild that value as a society, where it's important to serve for a while before you know, so you can actually understand what it is you're doing.
You know, you're asking the wrong person because I started my own
business
business in the 20s.
But were there mistakes, or did you think?
No, of course. You know what? To keep it simple, every generation will have different types of opportunities. They'll also have different types of challenges. For this generation, the type of opportunities they have are different from the generation of my generation. And so building all this, being an influencer, all the digital, internet-related businesses require a slightly different structure. So if they're able to take those opportunities successfully, all good for them. I mean, fantastic. However, there's some fundamentals that do not change. The fundamental of you learning how to deal with people, that is still important. The fact that if you don't learn to put some structure into what you do, sustainability becomes a challenge. That if you don't build wealth from the business, because I find one of the biggest challenges I find with this generation is there's such a consuming generation. And this, it's like I go to a restaurant and you find two young ladies or two young men, and they're having dinner, they're having lunch, and you're thinking in your head what the bill for that dinner is. And they're there as often, and then you're wondering, really? How much do they make? You know, what kind of job and all of that. So their own money is more towards lifestyle. Okay? There's time for lifestyle living, and there's need for lifestyle living, but there's also need for what you said about wealth building earlier. To understand that the season to build and the season to spend, they're two different seasons. But at no season can you not have a lifestyle, but it's about how you appropriate your resources and take it.
Let me come to what you've been doing for a while, International Women's Leadership Conference, which you host in Dubai. I must say, the very first time I heard about it, I was like, why would anybody carry 200 women to Dubai? All that forex. I was criticizing it.
I was
like, why would, I was criticizing, like, why? But I had a friend, Tokwe Makodige, she's one of the ladies of your view. She attended and she came back, and you could see the mind shift. I could literally see it in Tokwe. And I was just thinking to myself, okay. So the next one, I said, let me just find a way to just go. And honestly, I got a shift last year, and I'm so thankful for that conference. I mean, it was very worthwhile. So tell us, why did you think it was important to have women? Why did you want to start a women leadership conference? Why was it necessary?
Okay, let's put it this way. I've sat in a number of places, and I've seen the gaps between women sitting in certain places and the things that they need to know. And the other thing for me is also that women act like they don't have power because women operate with disjointed power. Women are very solo because there are not enough women at the top. So the few ones that are there are quite isolated. And it was important to allow women to understand that connecting their power allows us to create superpower, which can then be used for every woman that wants to sit wherever she wanted to. And I had a bigger vision in terms of women of African descent, wherever they were around the world. I wanted us to be connected and to learn from each other. As I've traveled around, I saw just how disconnected and how much we can do together. So the conference was designed, and people always say, why Dubai? Well, I wanted a neutral ground, period. I didn't want the Nigerian conference, Ghana conference, this, and battle of countries, no. I wanted a place where all the women that will come, no matter which country they come from, they will feel like one. And then they can learn together and share knowledge together. And I think in many ways, we have the next one on the 19th to the 21st of this month. And it's the fourth one. We're going to have 600 women at the conference. And they come from as far as Australia, the Caribbeans, the Americas, Europe, many cities in Africa. Nigerians, of course, are a huge part of the numbers and all of that. But what has been most satisfying for me is to see the results, is to hear the testimonials, is to see girls working together across nations, is to see shared learnings, is to see the tribe building.
Yeah.
Because the first year we spent 4 hours teaching about building your tribe.
Yep.
And the essence of building a tribe in the journey.
Everybody came back to Nigeria looking for tribes. Doctor said, "Mura, do you realize by a tribe? You're everywhere a tribe." I'm like, "What is this tribe? Everywhere you go to tribe." I knew it came from that conference. But I mean, so you're absolutely correct. But
okay, let me ask this question, because I feel that it's time for us to talk to the women ourselves, because you said we do more solo.
Yes.
You know, the term or the word feminism, there's no meaning that we have not heard from it. And it seems to be to have more hostilities than reception. A lot of people just think, even women think, I don't want to be associated with this term. Why do you think a term that was, created from the need for fairness, justice for women, for the girl child, became so demonized? Yeah. And how did we create that perception of it?
Look, words are easy to hijack in different ways. And honestly, the bottom line is there can hardly be one word that would define all the different categories of women in the world. Our cultures have a role to play. Our environments have a role to play. And so we will function in that in different ways. The African woman with the patriarchal society that we have, the context of what feminism is interpreted to be will be a challenge. Because then culturally she'd be fighting a battle. She'd be isolated based on it. But frankly, all you want is to have, what I like to do is to put it in economic terms. If women are 50% of your population and you want to drive the economy of your nation with just the other 50% of men, you cannot be a smart business person. Because if you have 50% of your resources locked down without maximizing it, you're a poor businessman.
Exactly.
So when you think in terms of the trillions of dollars that is locked up in women around the world because they're not being deployed appropriately, then you realize that for growth within nations, it's important for us to maximize the talent and the gifts and the minds of women and add to the national resource for us to build our nations. And have you ever seen any school give you a discount for a girl's education?
Nope.
No.
So whatever school you go to, the school fees for the boy is the school fees for the girl.
Mm.
All the way to the university.
Yeah.
So how can she not have the same kind of opportunities when her mind and the cost of preparing her mind is the same?
Fantastic. Let me, our callers haven't called them surprised. I mean, usually please call the numbers on your screen to ask a few questions. Do you have any comments on social media?
Let's take a few. Just one quick question.
Let me take a few comments because we have to involve our viewers. I'm sure many have questions.
Generated them. Okay, quickly. Chidebere Lydia says, could you please ask Dr. Ibukun if she has a mentorship program for young ladies who aspire to grow, but doesn't live?
Everybody doesn't know.
He refreshed, and I'm still reading it.
Oh yeah, okay. We're talking about mentorship. I mean, go ahead, Mama.
Okay, now I wanted to ask. I said you're an author. So can you speak more on the books? Yes, you've written, and then the whys of why you wrote those books.
Okay. I have a few books. I think the most popular is The Girl Entrepreneur. There's Girl Entrepreneur 1, 2, and 3. And it's really to tell the stories of women, female entrepreneurs, as a means to inspire other women that they can do it. You know, that's what I like, storytelling. And I think when you can see people like you do things, it helps you to understand and take all the learnings from their own journey and document it. Then I have Girls in the Boardroom, which is about women serving on boards, what is required, the experiences of many women, but also the learning, and then to put guidance for other women that want to serve on boards, how to prepare yourself, the things to learn, the things to apply, and all of that. All I want to do with my books is to share knowledge. It's just to empower people to be better.
Caller is here, Florence. Let me just take a few calls. Good morning, Florence. Are you there? Oops. Go ahead. You're live. Good morning.
You know, by the way, I don't use titles. All these doctor, I just like my name.
Go ahead.
Not put title. You can't call your name.
TV show. I've loved you so much. Like, you are calling me my role model, somebody I'm looking up to in the finance industry. Thank you for setting me this ball. Thank you for giving us we young girls like this that should not give up on ourselves and we always pursue our dreams. Thank you so much, Ma. God bless you.
Thank you, Florence. Go ahead, Mariam.
Okay, so my question was about the conference that you hold, and in what are the specific or practical help that these women give to each other outside the conferences?
Oh, okay, let me remember one example. So there was a Ghanaian and a Togolese or Ivorian that met at the conference. They're both in the same industry, and they realized that the jobs that they bid for, one that is francophone and the other one that is anglophone, and the francophone person, when she got an anglophone contract, couldn't do it by herself because it was English based, connected with the Ghanaian person, and they did this, and vice versa, and they started working together. So there are multiple, I hear so many testimonies that to even begin to, it's just amazing to see the connectivity, relationships, support systems that have been built across from the Caribbeans to Africa, to across people visiting themselves across countries to connect and do business.
Let me take Victoria as we call. Good morning, Victoria. Thanks for calling. You're live. Victoria?
Yeah, I'm still on the line.
You're live. You're live now. Go ahead, please.
Okay.
You're live on TV.
Hello, good
Go
morning.
ahead. Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, thank you so much, Ma, for this morning talk. I really appreciate. All right, thank you so much, Ma, for this talk this morning. I really appreciate.
Okay, she just.
Yes, my question is, I'm actually talking on behalf of my sister. The elder son, she has 2 kids, a boy and a girl. But we're having this challenge on the boy, which we don't really know where it's coming from. Could it be from the school? There's this stubbornness in him that we're finding it very difficult to get out of him. He's about 15 years now. So, but I keep talking to my sister that she should try and build up a relationship with him where they can interact so that she can get to know him more. He can understand him kind of. But she's telling me that the husband is on the quiet side, that each time she misbehaves that he wants to be, the husband is not doing anything, that she's tired and that she's giving up, that she cannot kill herself.
I didn't really understand that line of questioning.
She's trying to, it was on parenting.
When we talked about
parenting and her sister's inability to connect.
Okay, we have to wrap up very soon.
Somebody is asking as if she's a novice here, and Chidebere, I will take your question because I've seen it repeated. She's asking for a mentorship group and how she can join.
Okay, so I do the live series, and that we have closed sessions 3 times a year. It's usually on the live series page on Instagram or my page. They will advertise when we do that. Then in December, it's Ibukma Washika, and then we have live series Nigeria. In December, we always have the live series conference. The closed sessions are only about 225 people admitted into that. It's like a 7-hour session.
I have to wrap up, but there's this question that came up that I think is extremely important. How do you choose your close circle of friends? I think that is so important, but I only have a minute left.
I think your values are key to that. You must see what commonalities, and you must understand how they can influence you. You better be sure the influence they'll have on you will be positive. Core values, always align that, and the shared values makes all the difference.
Thank you so much. We've come to the end of the show. I wish we had another hour because there's so many questions jumping right now.
YouTube, we can't take all the comments. Loving you and appreciating you.
Thank you so much, Maya. It was a pleasure hosting you today, and we're honored. We're going to take you on a tour on our beautiful edifice. Hope you're not rushing to go. That's all we can take on today's show. Hope you learned a few things or many things as we have. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.